Especially those I sent a link to.
Especially those I sent the link to. Especially those I sent the link to. Especially those I...
Good. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good afternoon, all. Me again, Wendell Daniel from StreetMic, coming to you live and direct from outside of the Royal Courts of Justice. Sorry, I'm told the Royal Courts of Injustice with Insulate Britain. And a protest is about to take place down here very shortly. And I can guarantee you it's going to be a very interesting day. I received a tip-off about an hour ago that an event was taking place down here, and I was actually down in Edmonton Green doing a recording of a butcher. So I was making an advert for a butcher in Edmonton Green when I received the call. So I made my way straight down here, and when I finish down here I'm actually going to be going to Wembley. So big up StreetMic, we're going to be at Wembley, but I may have a few live streaming problems down there because it's a technical issue. It's a small area where thousands and thousands of people are going to be, and they're all using mobile phones and a bandwidth. So the stream at Wembley, I got to test it. I tested it yesterday, it was crap. You know, I'm going back there and hopefully I'll find a good spot. But coming back today, Insulate Britain, I've already had the opportunity to interview briefly a gentleman who was imprisoned for contempt off court, and there is going to be speeches here taking place by many of those who were themselves imprisoned. And I'm also led to believe something amazing is going to be happening. I'm not disclosing what it is because I can't be letting the old Bill know, and they may boom. So I'm led to believe something interesting will be happening down here later on this afternoon, and that's definitely contempt, mate, what I've been told. And one thing I love about what I'm doing is that as people get to know what you do, you get tip-offs, they give you information, and you turn up, they recognize you, and getting your name out there, mate. But you start small and you build up. But one thing about that is great about what I do, it is so diverse and things are moving forward. And I'm just going to change the subject for a few moments. Some of you may have watched on Sunday last week, the 8th, when I was at Speaker's Corner, when I arrived down there, and the gentleman who was imprisoned, he's just walking across the road, and I'm going to speak to him in a moment. And what I was going to say is that I was at Speaker's Corner last Sunday. An incident took place after I interviewed Big T, and today I've received information that someone sent me that the Metropolitan Police has taken out, and they're looking for witnesses because someone has been arrested as a direct result of the incident that took place down at Speaker's Corner. And I'm going to be back down at Speaker's Corner tomorrow. StreetMic LiveStream will be live and direct from Speaker's Corner tomorrow, and that will be good. I'm hoping to do a long live stream tomorrow, 5+ hours tomorrow. And when you do something like that, I've got to make sure I've got all the power, all the data, the batteries, and everything is going to be working for that long. So we are going to be live streaming at Speaker's Corner. So make sure tomorrow at Speaker's Corner you're watching StreetMic, because it's going to be good, because we're getting good weather. And I'm hoping all of those big guns, like the Hatun Tashes, and the people I'm talking about, the Mohammeds, the Alis, all those people with 1 million followers. I engage with all of them. If I want to talk to these big people, StreetMic will be doing an interview with them if they're down there tomorrow. And for some reason, all of the big guns weren't down there last Sunday. And I don't know why. And, I've got a theory, one of the reasons why it could have been. So I'm there calling the gentleman. I'm live streaming, so how about a quickie?
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm live streaming now. If you come around here, don't be afraid, don't be afraid.
Okay, then.
So if you look into the camera, so I'm just live streaming. Okay. So what's your name, sir?
It's Biff Whipster.
So Biff, tell me more about why you're down here outside of the High Court in London today.
Well, I participated in the Insulate Britain protests back in the autumn. Because there's two things. I came along this route partly through the climate crisis and partly through complete infuriation at the lack of democracy in this country. And the two of those converged, and I thought this is worth me getting off my backside and making a stand, because time's running out for the climate. Time is running out with these fascist leaders that we've got just taking away our freedoms. And that's it. So I got arrested numerous times in the autumn. It's sorry for inconveniencing members of the public, but you can't write petitions, you can't go through the the voting system, that's charade. So there's nothing else you can do but be non-violent, civil disobedient, and just cause some disruption.
So what happened as a direct result of you taking a stand and you causing disruption?
Right. Well, other than probably about 10 or 15% of the police actually saying in private, well done, keep it up, change has to come.
They do.
An interesting one.
I know they do.
Yeah.
They do.
But in practical terms, numerous arrests. I've been in the Royal Courts of Justice now. I've got 3 suspended prison sentences, so I can't go near the M25 unless I'm driving from A to B. And I've got about £13,500 worth of fines that I'm paying on a monthly basis. The courts are complicit in the system. They're that gap between the people and the government, and they're not doing their job. The science is undeniable. We know that people are dying from fuel poverty. The science is telling us the government's got to pull their fingers out, and they're not. So I managed to smuggle a phone into the court, live streamed the judge to Facebook, and got 28 days over to Bentonville. And fucking proud I did it. Excuse my French.
I don't fucking mind you doing
Excellent,
that, but what I will ask, sir, what was it like for you when you got banged up for contempt?
I suppose because I knew I could choose the time of my imprisonment, and I knew when I'd be getting out. So that is a privileged position. There's so many people in that prison that shouldn't be there, should be getting the help, should be getting the care. It was an eye-opener. I read a few pages from a book, the Prison, A Survivor's Guide, and it said you'll meet scum, you'll meet violent people, you'll meet people that lie, and the inmates. And to be honest with you, that's my experience. My credit card and 20 quid have gone missing from Pentonville Prison.
Wow. And who do you reckon nicked that?
Well, I don't know, but they had the Queen's crown on their epaulets, so that's all I can say. But hey ho, that's what they're there for, isn't it?
Excellent stuff. But what I will do now, I like to be devil's advocate, and it's important to have balance.
Yeah.
So I'm now going to ask you some dodgy questions, but I'm just adding a bit of balance to what I'm doing here today. Tell me, a lot of people have complained and said that Insulate Britain, what you did was disrupt the public. You caused disruption, you caused mayhem, you're shutting down the M25. So it was right that you were banged up. So what's wrong with that?
We intentionally went out there to cause disruption. We always had a blue light policy to allow ambulances through, all of that sort of thing. But what else can you say in the light of 7,500 people every winter dying of fuel poverty? Now you've got 700 MPs, divide 7,500 by 700, each one of them is one of Britain's biggest mass murderers. Why aren't they in court? And you just can't do any other system. The science is clear. The trajectory we're on through all of this capitalist system that we're all part of and indoctrinated into sort of championing is killing us. We know the United Nations scientific reports are saying that in sort of within 5 to 10 years, 800 million people from Africa, from South Asia, from the Middle East will not be able to feed themselves. There'll be no water, there'll be crop failures. They're going to be on the move. Our policies are causing that. That's 1 billion people potentially on the planet, and there could be worst case scenarios to that. Now, on a practical term, here we are in London. You've got people all bothered about their lifestyle and their bloody Mercedes cars and things like that. They're going to lose everything. Their pension pots will go, their homes will go, because every single economic system on this planet will collapse. Law and order will totally break down. It's going to be chaos. It will be, bloodshed in the aisles of Sainsbury's if Sainsbury's survives. That is what the science is telling us is going to happen on this trajectory. So I'm really, really sorry for the individuals that I may have inconvenienced on those days. But hey ho, the disruption that is coming, and the government know it, the disruption that's looming is infinitely worse. So I got kids that can't be anywhere else.
Yeah, I note all of the points you've raised, but I still have to ask the question, why disrupt? Why not engage in the political process? Why not get your members elected to government, to parliament? Why not? Why do you have to do something similar as Extinction Rebellion and mass disruption?
There's not time. I was asked by my local residents if I would stand as an independent councillor after I got arrested. I would love to have done that. If we had the time, I would do that. However, you're only going to get the top. You're only going to get to the positions of power if you play the game. Love him or hate him, Jeremy Corbyn tried. He almost got there, and the character assassination that went through there, the system was never going to let him have power. So, no matter, the way I look at it is, Keir Starmer, Boris Johnson, they're both pimples on the same bum cheek. That's the way to look at it. It's, you're not going to change the system. We need radical change. We've got humanity's survival. We've got the planet's survival at stake. We've got to rip up the rule book on this.
One thing that is great, and maybe saying that word great, I'm giving away a bias or a prejudice, but Insulate Britain, everyone has now heard of Insulate Britain. So my final question is, we are outside of the Royal Court, and a protest is going to be taking place, speeches will be happening. What I like is StreetMic, and I go on the streets and engage with people. Am I not going to get a little inkling of something that might be happening down here today?
Who knows? I've just come out of prison for 2 weeks, so I'm out the loop, as you say. I'm sure there will be some inspirational words said, and we are in civil resistance. When I go back in court, I shall be again saying to the judge, you're complicit in the murder of people. There should be intelligent guys. They should be driven by evidence. I'd love to see one of them say, yep, bingo, chuck all their paperwork away, shut the laptop and come out and join us on the road. But, let's say 2 weeks I've had in prison, I've got some damn good bloody ideas, I tell you.
I hear you.
I'm not going to tell you what they are.
No, I hear you, but I look forward to the inspirational speeches.
Yeah.
Is there going to be any inspirational actions today?
I genuinely, honestly couldn't say. I would hope to hear news on certain things. There are so many people fed up with this system. There are so many people hurting out there, and you've got the cost of living crisis beginning to bite as well, on top of the climate. I'd see that. What I'd love to hear is about just a coalition of movements. So you've got the climate campaigners, you've got anti-government campaigners, you've got Black Lives, you've got all of that. Let's just all come together. There's millions of us, and there's a few of them. And I tell you what, the way we're getting treated now with the criminalisation of sitting peacefully in a road and not even swearing in the road and eventually getting banged up, that's just not on. So they're scared. We can see that they're scared.
Anyway, thank you very much for giving StreetMic this opportunity. There is another protest going on down here today. Up the road is Palestinian protest, and then there's Wembley. So, I'm going to cover you guys for the next hour and a half. Then I'm going to make my way to Wembley. And I've no doubt, any time I go onto the streets doing this, I've never had a bad day. Yeah. It is always interesting.
It's humanity, it's love, and this is what the reality is. And as I say, if anyone's really interested, there is, of course, Just Stop Oil. They have been doing some fantastic actions, very nice, spicy actions, and let's hope plenty more of those to come.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir, and I've no doubt we're going to engage more today.
My pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. So, as we can see, a gentleman who faced the prison sentence, he actually went into prison for contempt. And there are going to be many other people down here speaking today who were in prison. I'm now going to go over there and do my thing And as you know, I'm always at the front, mate. You get what I'm saying? When you got a big camera and you're StreetMic, you get the best spots. Big up StreetMic. Where's the speeches going to be taking place?
We're still working that out. It's most likely going to be on one of these sitting platforms, like one of the benches.
Oh, one of the benches, oh.
I know last year we stood up on top of that, so
it might be over there.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it'll be there or there, basically.
Yeah. You all right, boss?
Yeah, you're right.
You're looking forward to an interesting day today?
It should be, shouldn't it? But it's already interesting. Like, I haven't seen a single cop.
They're here somewhere.
And I went round the usual reports.
That's the
all the bands were. Yeah, it probably is. Maybe.
No, because that's going on at the BBC.
I thought they'd have one or two.
Huh?
Might be the Israeli embassy, I thought, yeah.
Do you know something? It is the first thing we do. You do your reconnaissance, and you see where and there ain't no old bill,
No.
which is unusual.
It really is.
But I've no doubt they're going to be here.
They'll probably turn up, but I'm really mystified where they are.
But I must admit, when I turned up, I sat up over there, and some security guards from inside of the court came over to me. Hello, blah, blah, blah. You know the usual rubbish.
Yeah.
Because, like, what's happening?
Right.
So obviously they didn't know. And it says, it's not for me to tell you. They got their intelligence.
Completely impartial.
So as we can see, the crowds are beginning to form down here outside of the Royal Court of Justice. And there's the evidence. And many of you may remember that we was here yesterday with Colleen Rooney and the other defendant, Rebecca Vardy. So we were down here at the Royal Courts yesterday for the libel trial that is currently taking place with Colleen and Rebecca. And yesterday was the first time that Colleen actually went into the stand and gave evidence. And, you know, that will continue next week. And, if we wanted to, this is the great thing about the criminal justice system or the justice system in this country. I'm now coming round to the camera. And the great thing is, and you'll be able to hear me even better now, because it's now coming from the speaker here and the microphone. So as I was saying, the great thing about the justice system here in this country is that it's open. You know, even though there's a massive libel trial which is going on, and you can read it in the newspapers, you can see it on on TV as the Rebecca and also Colleen goes in. The great thing is that you can go in there as an observer and you can listen to what is going on, you can listen to the evidence. It is not closed. So if you want to come down here, if you want to find out what is going on with the libel trial, which is currently taking place, come down to the Royal Courts. You know, unfortunately I can't go in because I've got this equipment, because you cannot be doing certain things. But many people do get the chance to go inside, to listen, to engage, and to actually take part. But we are now down here where Insulate Britain, and we've all heard about Insulate Britain, you all know what they stand for. We know that they were shutting down the M25 and various different orbital roads around London last year. And as a direct result of that, a number of their people were imprisoned. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to interview one of them. And, you know, there is going to be many speeches today from Insulate Britain. We're going to be hearing a lot of things. And, you know, for me, it's great. I got the tip off this morning that this was taking place. I was down Edmonton Green doing something for a butcher, making a little commercial advert for him. Got the call, so I decided to come down here. And, you know, I'm down here now. And so, excuse me, sir, as I was going to ask this gentleman, as a photographer, can I ask you, sir, as a photographer, what's it you look for in the image? Can I ask you online, as I'm live streaming? If you come forward, sir. So, see, you know, we see each other and you're a photographer.
I'm actually another filmmaker.
You're a filmmaker?
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, I'm assuming, my assumption is wrong. When you're making your film, what specifically are you looking for that makes a good image? What is it?
The image is really you're looking for something that will tell the story in the best way. So that combines the elements, you know, it might be like a banner that explains why they're there, some of the protesters. If it's a confrontational thing, you might want some police in the image, so that starts to tell a story, you know.
And, you know, I see you everywhere, you know, you see me. And I love doing this thing because in London, so much is taking place. And there is a story going on everywhere you go, and it's brilliant. And if people wanted to see what you produce, how would they find it?
I'm realmedia.press.
So realmedia.press. If you want to see all the great work this gentleman's doing. But do you live stream? I'm going to ask you.
No. I cover
Why don't you?
Well, there's a couple of reasons, but I like to sort of go home and edit something. Quite often the stuff doesn't come out till the next day. I try and do something that really tells the story in a couple of minutes, and you can't do that with live stream. You know, live stream has its place. The other thing is that I quite often cover things where people might be incriminating themselves, and I don't want to be responsible for putting stuff out directly on the web that incriminates people. So when I get home, I just want to check my footage, see that I'm not putting anybody in trouble that doesn't want to be public about what they're doing.
And
so there's several reasons. Really.
I note the comments you make, and can I ask you about that, because I'm a live streamer, as you know, and I do it the opposite reasons for you. What I'm trying to do is tell a truthful story with all of the warts.
Right.
And I try not to edit, because I honestly believe when you edit, you're telling a different narrative. And it's no different to the BBC or the big broadcasters, because you're editing things. No, I'm not saying that in a bad. I'm not saying that in a bad way.
I know what you're saying.
Hence the reason I don't like editing.
Yeah. No, obviously I put my own. What's the word I'm looking for? My own opinion into it. You can't help that. Do you know what I mean? I try not to.
We all try not to.
But you know, I would say that actually where you point your camera and what you're filming as a live streamer is still making those editing decisions.
No,
I mean, I might take
but where you point it,
You know.
And what I let people hear and see, it's all editorial decisions. I fully agree with you.
So a live stream doesn't always tell the whole truth. And what I'm concerned about is it sometimes tells more of the truth than maybe some of the you know, a lot of the things that you and I go to represent people that are already oppressed, in trouble, poor, etc. And if they're doing something to try and fight that, and footage from your live stream can be used to incriminate them further, you know, I don't know whether that's doing them a service. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about it. I think there's a place for both. I think it's something that live streams do have to be very kind of aware of.
And what I will do, I will concur with you specifically with evidence. Last Sunday, down at Speaker's Corner, there was an incident.
Right.
I'm at Speaker's Corner every Sunday. I got there 12 o'clock, went at 1:15, then I come back. at about 6 o'clock. When I come back, because I interview people just like now, I engage with a gentleman for about 1.5 hours. I don't do clips myself. And after that interview had finished, I was aware he had been attacked previous to me arriving, and he's a regular down at Speaker's Corner, and he always gets attacked. But as soon as the live stream finished, someone attacked him. Sorry, as soon as I took the microphone off him, an attack took place. So I filmed it all, and in filming it, you were able to gather evidence to show exactly what happened. There is a however. I do agree with something you said just now, in that evidence can become incriminating because it's all there. Because what I've seen today is that the Metropolitan Police now have arrested someone. Who they've arrested, I don't know, but it's an assumption because, you know, the person who I was interviewing, I've tried to contact that person to see how they are. And I've sent them, and they haven't responded in a few days, which is highly unusual. And the note and the message from the Met Police said, an incident took place at Speaker's Corner on the 8th. If you were a direct witness and you were there, not online, please come forward. So, and that's because someone has been arrested. And they got all the footage. Everyone who's there. So it can be used against you, and I note your comments there.
So, you know, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. And I've always, as I say, you know, I try and craft a film that tells the story in a short amount of time. People may not have 1.5 hours.
I hear you.
So I think there's place for both.
Of course. But keep up the good work, sir. I've no doubt it's going to be great today, but 1:30, I'm going Wembley. Thanks a lot, man. Cheers. So that's another filmmaker who's down here today, and he explained exactly what he is looking for. Even though we're doing the same thing, we're doing it in a different way, and it's a message. And I really did enjoy the engagement I had with him just now, because you can now see different perspective of the same coin. Just like he said, what he likes to do is he gets the footage and then he carefully edits it together as not to incriminate people. When you do a live stream, you can't do that because you're telling the story as it really is. And there is a need for both angles. His one is short, my one is details, and it's up to other people to decide what they prefer. But me personally, I am not a clip person, and you will not find clips in general from StreetMic. I prefer to come out here and give you the details. But I'm now going to be showing that all of you who are watching, those online, those of you in the chat, hello, you can cuss StreetMic or you can say something great. I will look at your online comments in the chat rooms tomorrow. I don't do it now. I cannot be looking at what's going on in the chat and engaging with people online because I'm not taking an interest of what's going on here. That is the difference. So, you know, I'm going to be doing this for about an hour and a half. Then I'm going off to Wembley, and hopefully the stream and everything is going to be good, but I doubt it because of the type of environment. But we are still here, and it is going to be good. And I'm now going to shut up and let you see what is going on. But don't forget, if you like StreetMic, give me a thumbs up, make your comments down below, share and follow. And what you must also do, switch on your notification bell on StreetMic LiveStream on YouTube. Switch on the notification bell on StreetMic LiveStream on Facebook, and switch on your notification bell on StreetMic Podcast on Facebook. We're currently live streaming on 4 networks. I'm also on Getar, but I'm not live streaming on Getar. Too much bleeding work, mate. You get what I'm saying? But you're now going to be seeing all of the different activities that is going on down here. And my name is Wendell Daniel from StreetMic. So this is Insulate Britain down here. No, don't worry. Tell me, come forward, come forward. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Can I do an interview with you? I'm currently live streaming.
Okay.
Let me get this microphone and bring it closer to you. So, good afternoon. What's your name?
My name's Annie.
So, Annie, just be normal. No need to lean forward or anything. My name, no problem. My name is Wendell Daniel from StreetMic. Why was it important for Annie to be down here today with Insulate Britain?
Oh, goodness me. It's a no-brainer. They're fantastic people. I was on the road with quite a few of them. I did some actions. I did get arrested several times, but I haven't gone to prison yet. They're just... Well, the whole movement has been so necessary to highlight and shine a light on insulating our homes. It's just, as I say, it's a no-brainer.
What was it? I'm devil's advocate. I'm just letting you know. So on occasion, I ask you some dodgy questions. Yeah. Why was it important for yourselves to actually shut down, for example, the M25, then get arrested?
Because it shone a light on what we were doing, on our discussions of bringing Insulate Britain to the public. And sometimes you have to piss people off.
Yeah.
And we have. And we didn't like doing it, I can assure you. I didn't like gluing my hand to the M25, and I certainly didn't like the copper who ripped my hand off without any solvent. So I left half of my skin on the motorway. But that's how it goes.
Yeah. Wow. Let me ask you more questions about that. So, when you were gluing yourself, and the old bill has just turned up. So, when you were gluing yourself to the M25, what was going through your mind as you put that glue on your hand, then stuck it to the floor?
I think I was totally terrified. I knew I couldn't be run over because the traffic were miles back. We'd already sorted all that.
Yeah.
But the traffic going the other way, the abuse was huge. Every now and then there'd be a car that would support us, but we knew we had to do what we were doing.
And, when you got arrested, you said a copper basically arrested you, and in doing so, he basically ripped the skin off your hand. It was still on the M25. Describe that to StreetMic.
I wasn't very happy about it. He hurt
Painful.
He hurt me immensely. I put my hand on him to say, excuse me, don't do that. And he said, touch me and I will do you for a police assault. I said, but you've just assaulted me. It doesn't matter, it's just how they are. It's just what happens, We're very fortunate. We're here, we can be here, we have our freedom. We need to fight for insulating Britain.
And do you believe all of the disruption you caused, people were in prison, do you believe it was all worth it?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It is a conversation everybody knows about in the country, knows about Insulate Britain. Back in September, nobody knew about Insulate Britain. We used to talk about it. We talked about it as reducing our carbon emissions, such an easy thing to do. The government even put it on their manifesto, I believe, in 2019. They were going to put these billions in, and then, blah, 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 it got withdrawn as soon as they got voted in. So there was no levelling up. And so this is what we had to do. And everybody is talking about Insulate Britain. And I think people are beginning to realise that what we did and what we were saying is what needs to be done. We need to insulate people's homes. It's not good enough to have 8,500 people dying each year from the cold in their own homes. Come on.
But tell me more about the demands specifically to do with insulating your homes that the organisation Insulate Britain is actually promoting. So let's focus on that. What are your aims and objectives?
First of all, to insulate people's homes so as to to warm people so they didn't use so much fossil fuels. Bring that down, carbon emissions brought down, but also bring in some really good, proper professional jobs. So there's got to be a transition from fossil fuels to the green economy.
Thank you. I believe some speeches are going to be started in a moment, but thanks a lot.
Please, can I ask?
Have we emailed
Sorry.
Okay. We're just about to start. Could I ask everyone to kind of come down this way, even though it's in the sun? I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
So that you might have a better chance of hearing.
So the speeches are now going to begin. Microphone in, just to get good sound. Sorry. So I'm live streaming and I like crystal clear sound.
Super.
Have you got
That's always good.
Dave?
A clip. I can clip it onto my trousers.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank
Are
you.
Are you the only speaker? Or?
I'm the welcomer and the first speaker. Okay, the speaker is pointing that way, so that's the best way to be to hear us. That's fine. Well, we could trust them to do it. Yeah? Good? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for being here today. It warms my heart, and it gave me a lot of courage when I was in prison this week. To know that there is solidarity here, that we are a community, and we are together. So my name is Sarah, and I spent a week at Foston Hall Prison, women's prison, and I had the good fortune to spend my days there with 7 other incredible women from Just Stop Oil. And we had 3 men in a men's prison as well at the same time. Okay, so what was it like? Well, I was prepared. I was prepared because JSO made me prepared. I was ready because JSO made me ready. Did I feel fear? Yes, I did. Because I'm human. We're all human. So I faced that fear and I pushed through it. So what was it like? It wasn't that bad. Even prison wasn't that bad. Nothing bad happened. And this is the worst that they can throw at us. This is the worst that they can threaten us with. We'll send you to prison. Bring it on. Fear is the tool of an oppressive state. We all need to face our fears and push through them. We all need to face those fears. We can't step away from them anymore. We're out of time. So I'm going to ask everybody here, whatever stage you are at in your activism, face the fear of the next step. We will help you face that fear, and we will face that fear together. Because this is what we need to do. We all know that. So don't let fear hold us back. No more. No more. Now you are going to hear from some other people that have spent some time in prison. Not only from Just Stop Oil, but also Insulate Britain, because we are all a civil resistance community. We are together. Extinction Rebellion, together. Just Stop Oil, together. Insulate Britain, together. We all want the same thing. So I'm now going to hand over to Emily.
It's ridiculous that this is what I'm scared of, is to actually do this. Because I don't like speaking in front of people. It's ridiculous that this is what I'm scared of. That this, instead of anything that the government does, this is what I'm scared of. With everyone watching. My name is Emily. I'm Emily. I'm 23 and I just spent a week in prison. I found that experience fairly normalized already. I've been in custody many times, I've been arrested many times, and it's just becoming a day job, the fact that I am trying to fight the climate crisis. And so when people ask me, how was your experience in prison? And, you know, the officers were asking me, are you glad to be out? I was just saying, no, I'm just pissed off because I know I'm going to be up here again sometime. And you're going to see my face again for the same protest. Because this is a long slog, and I need to be able to pass the baton to more people. And that is you guys, like, we need to pass the baton. We came past the Emily and Pankhurst building just now, and it talked about how courage was building courage, and courage finds courage. And I think that's what this community is. And I think the coolest thing about being in prison was that I got to outreach to people that had never heard about the crisis. We talked to people that were in prison, and they were there thinking that the climate crisis was polar bears and bumblebees. And it isn't just polar bears and bumblebees. And we did a protest in there about the fact that the prison system will be left behind if it's not also considered. And that was really amazing. And that was the best experience. I now have a statement from Margaret Reed, which they wrote whilst they were in prison. Can you still hear me? Yes. I'm sitting on my prison bunk reflecting, just as I'm sure Priti Patel would hope I am. However, she might be disappointed. So why am I here in HMP Foston Hall? Because there's a climate emergency. Because our government is breaking promises and instead sending us on course for destruction. And this is the government that told us we had to stop pumping carbon into the air faster and faster, and quilting the earth in an invisible and suffocating blanket of CO2. But now talking about extracting every last cubic inch of gas from the North Sea. It's the ultimate betrayal. I'm sitting on this bunk because my conscience tells me I, a very ordinary person, have to make a stand to stop new oil and gas before it's too late. Because my head tells me, in a climate emergency that the government itself has declared, I must not be intimidated by an immoral injunction granted to protect the financial interests of the fossil fuel industry that will kill us. Because my heart tells me that we human beings need to stand up together to protect each other and those that follow from this terrifying fate that is hanging over our world. Because there is no compelling reason why I can leave this job to someone else. The whole prison thing can sound a bit extreme. But if anyone out there is wondering about it, maybe take heart from the fact that I, previously the most timid, she was very timid, law-abiding and quiet citizen, have found I can do this. A year ago, I had absolutely no intention of being arrested. I thought that doing my recycling in the day, then lying awake at night, worrying about the climate crisis, was enough. With a bit of banner waving, petition signing, etc. thrown in. But we all know we're past that stage, and my turning point came when I found myself at a talk called Our Responsibilities at This Time. The title says it all, doesn't it? And here I am. Yes, it can all be dehumanizing, sometimes degrading, but those aren't the moments I think of. There's the moment you realize your arresting officer agrees with you or when you see the Just Stop Oil placard proudly on display behind the custody desk, or when the prison officer filling out a form listens when you explain why you're here. Above all that is the relief of being with people who think the same as you, and the sense of relief when you know you are all doing all you can rather than sitting at home worrying. You're very conscious of power in prison, and mostly you don't have much of it. But being here with a group of 8 of us, all united and acting in solidarity, is powerful. Today we sat down together and asked the governor to declare a climate emergency. Of course, we were quickly removed by force, much stronger than us, but there was still power in that moment. Imagine if there'd been 800 of us, speaking with one voice. And ultimately, what is prison? It's a building full of fellow human beings who are all going to be affected by the climate crisis and the government's failure to act in time. We are all locked up here, just as the world is still locked into the cycle of consumption that will eat up our natural resources. We can all hear the road of the motorway from ourselves, fed by the fossil fuel madness that we have to break right now before it's too late. I'm pondering all this as I sit on my bunk, eating my vegan dinner option, and I'm thinking the prison is going to have to keep getting those vegan options onto the menu, because until the government and the legal system wake up to this climate emergency, there are going to be a lot more of us inside. My spell inside has not shown me the error of my ways. Instead, it's strengthened my resolve, reinformed my faith in the power of collective action, and given me hope that if enough timid and ordinary people like me take action, then we can still make a difference and keep fossil fuels in the ground. Oh, I love it. You're amazing. I shall pass to...
projecting so they can hear you at the back, okay? Even though it's right on your mouth, keep projecting.
Hi, my name's Lucia. I was one of the Kingsbury 11 and the Foston 8, and I was released just a couple of days ago on Thursday. When people ask me what prison was like, I keep saying it was pretty much like a crappy youth hostel. It gets old, it's a bit shit, it's kind of what you expect, but it's really not that bad. I think that when we imagine what prison is like, the idea of it, of going yourself, it fills us with horror. We recoil at it. And that fear is normal, and it's something I have too. But to not do something is the biggest risk of all. And even though I feel that fear, quite understandably, I look it in the face and I say, I'm going to do it anyway. And when I do, I never regret it. So when we acted in prison together, when we resisted, as a collective, as an 8, it was terrifying. Scariest thing I've ever done, bravest thing I've ever done. But I do it again. I do the whole thing again. So, I'm going to read out a statement from Sarah Ben. Who can't be here today. She was one of the Kingsbury 11 and the Foston 8 too. Outside my surreal life in climate activism, I'm a very conformist person. A good citizen who dislikes breaking rules and conventions and causing a fuss. I rarely complain. I don't queue jump and prefer a quiet life. I've worked hard for 32 years as a doctor in the NHS, mostly as an inner city GP in Birmingham. And more recently another surgery combined for the last 2 years with working for a local COVID management service. That's until I left my job 6 weeks ago because I just cannot function in that role anymore. I left on good terms with my patients and my colleagues. I've been a good GP for my patients, a good mum to my kids, and a good member of my community. So why am I here? I think you know. There is a climate and ecological emergency, and the response from our government is pitiful beyond words. Our Prime Minister just vomits cynical rhetoric to get himself through the next electoral cycle. For example, at the COP26 in November 2021, he said, "We are in the position of James Bond, except the tragedy is that this is not a movie and the doomsday device is real and the clock is ticking. It's 1 minute to midnight and we need to act now. If we don't get serious about climate change today, it will be too late for our children tomorrow." The same Prime Minister who flies home from Glasgow to London by private jet to save a couple of hours so he can dine with chums. The PM of a government which wants to fast track for approval 6 new oil and gas fields in 2022. Can anyone have any confidence that their promises and pledges are anything more than greenwash and outright lies? In this context, I freely admit that I have repeatedly broken the law, and this injunction quite deliberately and with no regret. I'm not sorry for what we did, just sorry that we have to do it. And I absolutely accept the consequences, because disruptive, non-violent direct action has proved historically to be the most effective measure to force change. It is my way of shouting, "Emergency, the house is on fire, wake up, there's no time, do something." It's my way of shouting because actual shouting on a march or by petition results in nothing but a hoarse voice, disappointment, and delusion. My actions are not out of any enjoyment of being a troublemaker. I hate it. They are actions of desperation. And that's why I'm here, because I broke an injunction forbidding me to protest that they won't even do that first essential step. Not an overnight cessation of using fossil fuels, leaving everyone to freeze, but a swift and humane transition to green energy over the next 8 years, sustained through the weaning process by the reserves we already have. It's not such a big ask when you consider the economic and human cost of failing to do that. Whatever I do in the way I live my life makes no impact unless government takes the big actions which are their responsibility to safeguard all our futures. Stopping new oil, telling the unpalatable truth about the dire situation we are in, and launching a wall-footing intensity of effort to reduce energy and resource consumption, insulate homes and facilitate massive change in what we eat, how we travel, build, and so on. And that's why I'm here, because until that happens, I won't stop shouting the alarm, shouting through non-violent civil resistance.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Hello, you beautiful, beautiful people. My name's Biff Whitman, and on Thursday I came out from 2 weeks in prison, 12 days at Pentonville and 2 days down at Lewis. What can I say about the prison? It was disgusting, it was appalling, it was inhumane. The lack of humanity from people wearing the Queen's crown on their epaulets was abhorrent. It surprised me. However, the inmates weren't that bad. No, it's not that bad. Would I go again? Yes. I felt alive in there. Dare I say it, and tell the Daily Mail, I quite enjoyed it. Because I was able to choose the moment of my imprisonment, and I knew the day I was getting out. My heart goes out to those people in that system who've been on remand for 2 years, young men, screwed and fucked by the system. It It's all part of this system we've got to destroy for us human beings. I made a quick note just as I was being released, and I'd just like to read a few words of it. I said, I've been released, but I am not free. There's no freedom on a dying planet where our only hope is radical change. And we're even highlighting the need for that radical change through peaceful, non-violent protest leads to being criminalised by the state. A state controlled by fascist, power-crazed scum. I've been in jail with murderers and with robbers. But you know what? The people that truly scare me are those people causing the most harm in our society. The people destroying lives in this country, they are the ones that are sitting in Westminster and in boardrooms across this country. They are the ones putting profit and self-interest ahead of our needs. Just divide the number of people in this country that die from fuel poverty by the number of MPs in Westminster. And instantly each of those MPs joins the ranks of the worst mass murderers in this country. Why are they not in fucking prison? Why are peaceful protesters in prison? We've got to urgently dismantle this corrupt, greed-fueled government that we've sleepwalked.
Good afternoon, Maureen Nyland. So, good afternoon, Maureen Nyland.
For our children and for our grandchildren, then we've got to act now. There are millions of us. There's only a few of them. The maths is simple. We need to throw off the fear the state has crafted to kowtow us into submission. We've got to wake up to the fact that it's we who've got the power to create the rapid, radical change required for our survival. The ball is in our court. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? Now, one other thing I would say is when you are in prison, do some networking. I spoke to some fantastic people and I'm hoping to follow up those links they've given me. For brave souls through black lives. And together we're all suffering. Before I continue, I've now got a bit of paper from another brave soul. Rajan Naidu's statement. It's a message from Fran, partner to Rajan, who's currently on remand for his activities in breaking the injunction at Kingsbury Oil Terminal, Tamworth. Woo-woo! So here we go. The injunction was instigated by Valero, but paid for and carried out by Warwickshire County Council. Just one example of the hold that corporations have on the decision makers in all our lives. Rajan will be so heartened to hear about the turnout today and see the level of public support for JSO activists. So thank you all for being here. For those of you that know him, you'll recognise Rajan as calm, humane, taking the wider view, exhorting people to care for each other. After much thought on the implications of the consequences, Rajan joined others in JSO who were willing to take on a police record, go through the court processes, pay fines and costs, and even go to jail for non-violent direct action. As a result of sitting in police vans and custody cells, he discovered that many police officers are open to talking about climate issues and see the rationale of the movement. The fact is that Rajan has been an activist on global issues all his adult life, a committed communicator and campaigner for social justice and environmental justice. His output on social media is wide-ranging, consistently questioning corruption and inhumanity. Rajan's activities with JSO are a natural extension of his concerns for the planet and the strong hold that corporations have on our lives and our cultures. Ahead of a recent court case, Rajan prepared the following mitigation statement. So this is what he'd have read out in court. To give some idea of the monstrosities we're having to contend with, let me open with some illuminating quotations from Captive State, The Corporate Takeover of Britain, by George Monbiot, published in 2000 and yet just as fresh and relevant now in 2022. The corporation is an ingenious device for acquiring rights and shedding responsibilities. Corporations are, by definition, managed in interests at variance with those of the public. Their directors have a fiduciary duty towards the shareholders. They must place their concerns above all others. The state, by contrast, has a duty towards all members of the public, and most strive to achieve a balance between their competing interests. The struggle between people and corporations will be the defining battle, the defining war of the 21st century. If the corporations win, liberal democracy will come to an end. The great social democratic institutions that have defended the weak against the strong, equality before the law, representative government, democratic accountability, and the sovereignty of Parliament will be toppled. Yeah. If, on the other hand, the corporate attempt on the public life is beaten back, then democracy may re-emerge the stronger for its conquest. But this victory cannot be brokered by our representatives. Democracy will survive only if the people in whose name they govern rescue the state from its captivity. And I'll finish by saying no one else will fight this battle for us. There will be no Messiah, no conquering hero to rescue us from the corporate Leviathan. Most of our representatives have been co-opted or crushed. Only one thing can reverse the corporate takeover of Britain. It's you. Thank you, Rajan, and Rajan's partner, for those words. Thank you.
So good afternoon to all of you watching. My name is Wendell Daniel and welcome to StreetMic, and we're coming to you live and direct from outside of the Royal Courts of Justice with Insulate Britain. So we are outside of the Royal Courts of Justice with Insulate Britain, and around 1:30 I will be ending this and I'm going to Wembley. So 1:30 I'll be going to Wembley.
I'm 58 and I'm a part-time tutor. I used to be a full-time tutor, but like many people here, I realised I needed to put more time into activism because there wasn't anything more important. I took action with Insulate Britain, and at the first court appearance at Crawley Magistrates Court, after the hearing, I spray painted Insulate Britain on the courtroom. So I was asked to kind of talk about why I did this, but I think the question is more, why wouldn't I? I had the knowledge of the importance of acting. I had no barriers in my life to stop me from acting, so it's more, why wouldn't I do it than why would I? And I think we have to ask ourselves not just about why should we act, but every time we fail to act, that too has consequences. Every opportunity to act, we must take. I wasn't expecting to go to prison for that, but I did. I was given a 2-week sentence with 1 week in prison. I was released on Tuesday. I was prepared for my prison experience because I was expecting previously to be arrested with Insulate Britain, but I certainly wasn't expecting it on that day. But what the hell? With regard to time in prison, I would say, perhaps like many people here, I kind of live in this kind of everyday world, but I'm just haunted by a sense of the world to come if we fail in this project of changing everything. And that gives me visions of nightmare scenarios. So it also fills me with gratitude for the ordinary everyday things. So in prison I had 3 meals a day, I had somewhere safe to sleep, and that's more than the future that people are looking at. So I was grateful for that. Also I'd say thank you for everyone who emailed prisoners. I think everyone in prison appreciates those emails from people known and unknown, so thanks for that. As to loss of liberty in prison, I think that's illusory to some extent. We're always constrained by our environment, and the thing that's most important in terms of freedom is our freedom to think and to act in concert with our consciences. And I felt by doing the action that I did, I was acting freely in accordance with my conscience, and that's the best freedom you can have. So I'd say find out more about going to prison. For me, it wasn't too bad. I've also got a statement here to share with you. This is from the husband of somebody who's taking action with JSO now. So I'd just like to share some of that with you. My name is Will Garrett Wright, and I've been arrested once with Insulate Britain and 3 times with Just Stop Oil. I'm writing this as my wife, Beth Garrett Wright, is currently on action with Just Stop Oil, and she is likely to be arrested and then remanded in the coming days. We are a single income household, and so at the moment, Beth has stepped forward and taken the brave decision to throw herself into the ongoing campaign of civil resistance. Me and my wife, Beth, are the very definition of unextraordinary. We are pretty much unexceptional in every way. We're both graduates in our mid-30s. We got married last year and have 2 little dogs at home with us. However, people across the country like me and Beth are now taking remarkable steps to try to address the defining issue of our age, climate change. This is because no one will do it for us. Nobody is waiting in the wings with a magic wand. What we all do today will define how our species goes forward in space and time. Nobody is coming to save us. We have to do it ourselves. What can we do, though? People shout at Beth and the brave people she sits alongside outside of fuel depots and oil refineries. The problem is too knotty and complex, they cry, as they watch Beth get hauled off by police officers and thrust into a cramped police van. Well, what we can do is to begin with simple measures and no-brainer actions that begin to reorganise energy production around the world, giving us a chance to turn the tide in our favour against the biggest threat modern humans have ever faced. The IEA knows this, the UN Secretary General knows this, and Beth, my wife from Glossop, knows this. However, whilst ideas like no new oil projects are being contemplated by those people who want to do something about the current crisis, our government is faffing about and rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Whilst we are speeding headlong into a brick wall, they are still debating whether we should put our seatbelts on. Why are our elected leaders allowed to act like this? Our government is hiding and passing the buck. The grown-ups in this country, like Beth, are refusing to let this vital moment slip away. Let's not forget that the government themselves declared the climate emergency in the first place in 2019. However, they're now just saying one thing, and doing another. Police officers and ambulance drivers have to dash to emergency calls with flashing blue lights. Our politicians choose to respond to their self-professed emergency by breaking COVID lockdown rules and having parties. In fact, they can't even bother to do simple things that will get us out of this jam. I'm just cutting a little bit here. Why are those in power allowed to neglect their responsibilities? They need to step up, man up and get a grip, just like my courageous wife, Beth. Otherwise, if they don't, normal people like Beth are going to keep blocking oil refineries and sitting in the road until they do.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you take off the
Yeah.
Yo.
For all of you watching, Wendell Dennell from StreetMic, and we are outside of the Royal Courts of Justice, where only yesterday I was down here with Rebecca and Colleen. So at 1:30 I'm ending this stream because I'm off to Wembley. And don't forget, if you like what you see, and give me the thumbs up, make your comments down below, share and follow. Listen to Jimmy.
So we're supposed to be here to honour the people who were sent to prison. So I sat down to write a pretty speech about how special they are for being sent to prison. But that's bullshit. They're not special. And I can say that because I'm one of them. I did 2 months in Thameside over Christmas for Insulate Britain. We're not special, and I can prove it. Put your hands up if you think prison is a fun time. Yeah, we were all a bit worried about that. And Biff there, yeah. But, okay, good, because it's not. Now, I would like you to think about a loved one, a friend, a family member, a lover, or a pet. It doesn't matter. Just pick one and think about them. Hold them in your mind for a second. You got them? Now imagine that that loved one was faced with certain harm, maybe death. Now put your hand up if you would risk going to prison to protect that loved one from certain harm. Get on with it.
So just a last comment about the 8 people still in prison today. So we've got Michelle Charlesworth, that was my cell buddy. She's still in Foston Hall. We've got Peter. So these were people who were put on remand yesterday that are going to follow. Peter, Hannah, Rajan, you just heard from Rajan's wife, Marmite, Karen, Bill, and Beth. And you heard from Beth as well. So those are the people. We're out now. We're okay. Some people are managing better than others. But we're all on a journey. And those people, those 8 people are still in prison on their journey. So I want you to hold them in your hearts and thank them for what they are doing right now. And now, thank you very much for listening. We will get ready to go on a little trip. That's it. That's the end of my sit. Thank you so much.
No. Which direction again? That way or that way? Oh, all right. Well, as I said, I'll pass.
That way.
Good. I'm glad I'm going to Holborn.
Mark, with it or without it? With it was pretty good, isn't it? Do it. Especially if you've got people down the sides. So you see, yeah. You see that you haven't seen anything from Jackie.
Hope you can hear me. Hope you can hear me. So we've now come to the end of the speeches down here in front of the Royal Courts of Justice, and the protest is now going to be setting off. I don't actually know where they're going to be going, but all I can say, I will be following them for about 20 minutes or so, because I am going to Wembley this afternoon. I'm going down there to engage with the Chelsea and Liverpool fans. So I'm going to cover this protest for another half an hour, then I'm making my way to Wembley, so this live stream will be ending. And don't forget, if you like what you're seeing, give me the thumbs up, make your comments down below, share and follow. And what you must also do is switch on your notification bell, and every time StreetMic goes live, you will be informed. So switch on that bell on StreetMic LiveStream on YouTube, switch on that bell on StreetMic LiveStream on Facebook, and switch on that bell on StreetMic Podcast on Facebook. So we're on Facebook twice, we're also on YouTube, and we're also on Gettr, Gettr. I've only just started that, but we're now going to be setting off. And don't forget, if you haven't seen the stuff, go on YouTube, go on Facebook. Last week, I had the chance to interview Tommy Robinson down at Telford for 20 minutes. So I've uploaded an interview I did with Tommy Robinson last week for 20 minutes. So if you want to see that, go online and you get that. And on the 23rd of May, we're going to be setting off in a minute. On the 23rd of May, there will be an event for Sasha Johnson, the Black Lives Matter leader, who is currently in hospital after being shot in the head in Concert Road. So there is going to be a drum salute for Sasha Johnson, and that is going to be live streamed exclusively. All the big boys ain't going to be there. We're not letting them go. Only StreetMic will be live streaming that event, and it's going to be a massive event. There are going to be so many heavyweights who are going to be on that. That's at this event speaking. But I'm now going over there. But in half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour, this live stream is coming to an end because I'm going to Wembley to engage with the Chelsea and Liverpool fans. So don't forget, big up StreetMic.
Time to move.
So we're now walking through the streets of London with Insulate Britain. So these are the guys and girls with Insulate Britain, and it's not a very big crowd, but this is what it's like to be on a protest. I'm now carrying my tripod on my shoulder as I walk through the streets. And if you ever wondered what it was like to be on a protest, actually walking through the streets, follow me. If you want to come down, you can do so, but there's also another big protest taking place this afternoon, and that's the Palestinian protest. And those guys are walking to the Israeli embassy. So, and I'm led to believe that is one of the reasons why you have not seen that many police down here today, because all the police are outside of the BBC at the moment, because there is a Palestinian protest taking place, and they will be walking towards the Israeli embassy. But you know, I do this most weeks, and it's actually quite easy. To actually walk through the streets with a camera in my hand, live streaming, and sometimes when it's a proper arranged event, the police will ensure the safety of the protesters. But just now, this gentleman here, he just pushed through, and I'm showing the name of the company so everyone can know, and he was being very dangerous what he actually did just now, which could have injured the protesters who are legitimately walking through the streets. So I just checked my stream, and it's relatively good at the moment, and they're shouting "Just stop oil!
Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Just stop oil!
So I believe we're now going to be turning left down Ardale Street, and that heads towards the embankment. So I think that's where they're going now. And if they are going down there, I'm going to be happy, because when we go past Embankment Tube, in about 5 minutes this stream will end. So just letting you know, we're now walking towards Embankment Tube, and when we get to Embankment Tube, this stream will end, because I will be making my way to Wembley. Big up, big up. I've no doubt we will cover other events, but we are on the streets of London with Insulate Britain, and I've had the opportunity to interview many of those who have been to prison. Where have you been hiding?
I've been recovering.
It's on there, yeah? The interview, yeah? I'm finishing when we get to the bottom there. Not too bad. Hey, so I'm finishing here. I'm going Wembley.
Oh, for the football?
Yeah. I'm live streaming, so.
You're not live streaming this? Or, oh, you are, yeah?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, yeah. So we're now coming to an end of this live stream. So we're now coming to an end. And I can see the signal's a bit rubbish here. So I'm going to go into the streets and talk because the signal is rubbish here.